It looks like... Did you bring your materials to make another, or is there never going to be another?
Oh, there's plenty more of this.
Let's get this going, because now I want to know what's in this.
Yeah, I do too. Alright, gas up the motherfucking hype train. This is the
Hell the Breakfast Cast.
Yep.
Before we say anything, can I just state that smell is pungent?
Yeah, it really
Pungent
is.
so people have smelled it already. I haven't gotten a chance to smell it.
We got a whiff on its way.
So
Why did it get cloudy?
Why?
What's its color before?
How
God.
did you do that?
Why does it look more like blood?
So, this week, we're back in the studio. It's Labor Day.
Yeah.
It's Labor Day. We have had ourselves an enjoyable Labor Day. We've been doing some things today that we're going to talk about today on the cast. Your ever-present host, I'm Brendan. Sitting right over here is...
Ryan.
It's Ryan, and then we have...
Kyle.
And then our guest this week is...
I am Chips.
There we go. We've got Chips on the show this week.
MB Chips.
MB Chips, of the Brain is Unconscious YouTube channel. Him and I have also worked on a couple comics together. He's an illustration major at UMass Dartmouth. And he's going to have a lot of interesting things to talk about with us today. We're excited to have you here, so thanks for being here, Chips.
I am super happy to be your first guest.
Yes, absolutely, and he is the first guest. This is a landmark moment for us, gentlemen. Let's raise a glass of Ryan's terrible drink. I spilled all over everything. Oh God, the moose cup has betrayed me, motherfucker. All right, whatever. What do you got for us today, Ryan? Let's
Please,
just get
I want
this
to
over with.
When he brought that in the room, I was just overcome with the scent of juicy juice.
And that was your first guess.
Yes.
And I said yes, juicy juice. Not because that's what's in it, but because I really wish it was. Now,
Rolling down the street, laying back,
sipping on
juicy juice.
So, last week... fucking midges. I love
Did it come from
Florida.
a can?
No, it absolutely did not come from a can at any point. It has never met a can. I'm putting this off as long as possible. So,
Tell us what's in this.
last week...
It looks terrible, I gotta say.
It's bad.
You got your Dagobah film back.
Last week, I took a bold new step and opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for myself. Because I had been making mixed drinks based on, zany things I could find in the grocery store. I had never thought to break the rules of alcohol. Going forward
Break
with
the
that.
walls down.
Break the walls
if you
down.
will.
So you gave me an instruction earlier this week. I don't even know if you remember it. You told me to make a drink with Kool-Aid.
I did.
And
I said to drink the Kool-Aid, literally make a drink with Kool-Aid.
So the reason that there's a film there is entirely too much of 3 different Kool-Aid drink mix pouches.
Christ.
There is black cherry, and I can tell you, I stirred it and tasted the spoon. There's a lot of black cherry in there. There's watermelon, and there's tropical punch. Now, what was I going to mix with it? I went on
Diarrhea.
I went online.
Cut out the middleman.
Was it a fine Pilsner?
I went online. I looked at the liquor store. I'm like, just give me inspiration. I'm like, oh, you know what? I have been ignoring wine, so I figured I'm going to mix it with a good. I figured I was going to mix it with a good rose wine, which I was aware of but had no experience with. But then I thought to myself, you know what?
Rosé. By the pie.
It's fine,
but
a rosé wine.
if you want to be a douche.
But then I thought to myself, you know what? That's not the Hell to Breakfast way. What is a rosé wine? It's a cross between a red and a white, as far as I'm aware.
No.
So I thought to myself, let's uncut out the middleman.
Oh God.
So we have in here, mixed with way too much Kool-Aid drink pouches, a fine $5.99 Riesling and a fine $6.99 Sauvignon.
Riesling and Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes, oui.
Yeah.
S'il vous plaît. Please don't make me drink this.
Do it.
No.
You made this.
Yeah, but for you.
I like the
Now is the winter of your discontent.
I think the best part is the film, like the
I
strong
know.
film layer on
What's
the top
What's
of the
really
glass.
great about this is the second drink he's made that's had that purple film on the top.
Was the last one with the prune juice?
No.
the last one was with it was because of the naked like smoothie juice. That was in
Yeah.
The coconut. Was it the coconut? Whatever, just drink it.
Drink it.
God,
Go
it's-
for it.
Okay,
Drink it.
Silence on the set. Drink it. Drive that into you.
don't make me laugh.
Do it!
Do
Come
it!
on! Make that shit come out your nose. Oh, fuck. Alright, I want to be number 2 on this. This is...
God, it just tastes it's like.
Oh my god! It just smells so bad.
I gotta warn you, there's a hell of an aftertaste.
You know what it smells like? You know what it smells like? It smells like you took a bunch of Flintstones vitamins and crushed them up and poured them in here.
I did that once. I peed orange.
Dude, we both did
Oh, I
that.
guys got a hint! It's awful!
When we were
It's like sweet tarts and piss!
Let me tell you what that tastes like. It's like tasting into the.
Oh.
It's like an early harvest apple that's been pissed
Oh my
off.
god! Oh my god! No, the sourpuss reflex is just you
There's
can't
something in
fight it. You got it. You got your face just does this thing. Chips.
I'm giving it a go. Here we
Do
go.
it.
You know it's like that face.
What?
I wish we had a webcam. Okay.
Oh my god, there is
Hang on, I
no.
gotta
You
try
said
this.
that there was an aftertaste, but the thing that is so like usually when drinking alcohol or any like acquired taste or bad taste, you talk about aftertastes, but the pain came immediately and came strong.
It was hard.
Right
Hard and
upon.
fast.
Yeah, it's hard to pass. I love
Hang
it.
on, I gotta.
Kyle
I gotta-
premedicated himself there.
This is gonna.
I'm the one who has to drink the whole thing. Yeah, yeah.
I've got to commend you.
Did you actually drink some? Okay, because that was a full on take this cup away. I don't want to drink. It's poison.
I've got
Christ,
to
that's the
commend
worst.
you because last week we thought you really made your first bad drink last week. At
This
least
is
that's what I
way
said.
worse.
This is your crowning
This
achievement.
isn't even close.
No, this is so bad.
It was so thick.
Yeah,
It was
there's
like
a lot.
tasting the Kool-Aid man's
Taste.
blood.
Oh,
I still want to point out. I
yeah.
still want to say though, to continue teasing, there is a drink worse than this.
Oh God, it's coming.
It's
coming down
coming on
the
our
tracks.
the double episode that we've hinted.
That's next week.
That's next week?
We're going to record the double episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
You
Are you going to mix 2 drinks?
You know what it
it's
is?
4.
Here's the thing. The reason it
Not four
tastes like
liquors.
it does is because like you just poured straight Kool-Aid mix in there.
Pretty much.
That's
Well,
super fucking concentrated.
No, yeah, it would not have been an exciting drink if I just mixed a white and red because, as I've said, it would just give you a rosé.
That's not
All
even,
right, so,
that's not even close.
So Chips, we pop your Ryan the Drink Wizard cherry.
I'm a wizard.
I'll never have that cherry back.
It's never coming back.
I can put more cherry in it.
This week we're going to talk about webcomic Hijinks Ensue by Joel Watson.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, which we all saw earlier in the week.
Just
and
about as earlier in the week as you can get.
we saw it on Tuesday. It was did we record it on Sunday or Monday last week?
Monday. No.
Yeah, it was Monday night.
We saw it the day after.
Okay. We played some Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition just before this. We're going to be talking about that. And you know the Chipper's here, so we're gonna put him in the hot seat and give him a little interview as well. Let's
Seat
jump.
is swelteringly hot.
It's
but,
swelteringly hot. It's very warm right now.
Oh, what are you gonna do?
We have all the windows open again. I'm not sure you can hear the crickets tonight because it hasn't dark has not fallen yet here in sunny Orlando, Florida. But maybe you'll get them later as we progress.
It adds flavor.
It really does. Last week I liked the crickets last week. I
Did you?
I
It
did.
adds flavor, just like Ryan's drink.
Just like Ryan's.
God,
It's the worst.
I can still taste it.
For what it's
So-
worth, it has flavor.
For what it's worth, it smells like a pixie stick. But go
Let's
on.
hop right into the wrestling rundown. We're not going to talk much about wrestling this week because we really only got one
jack
thing to
shit
talk about.
happened.
No, but the thing we want to talk about, the thing that happened this week was Bray Wyatt did the job for John Cena, and why
And not
did
just
he do that?
it wasn't even that he just did the job. Like, you know, it's
Did you guys all watch Raw this week?
I missed Raw this week, so
Okay.
catch me up.
Well, then you're aware of the John Cena getting squashed by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam.
Yep,
You
I
watched
was there for
that, okay.
SummerSlam.
So they're kind of trying to build John Cena back up, and one of the things they decided to do was waste 2 months of character development from Bray Wyatt and let him take a squash match from John Cena.
Basically, just have him beat Bray Wyatt with absolutely no effort on his part, essentially. And it's just like, this was the man that you had, as a credible threat to John Cena.
Not a month and a half ago.
Yeah, it was 2 months ago.
Was it? All right.
Because Bray Wyatt moved out of the Cena feud and into the Chris Jericho feud.
That's correct.
Yeah. And it's just like, this was the man you were building up as a credible threat, but now you decided, John Cena can just beat him in 2 minutes.
They built him up as a credible threat to John Cena, and they let John Cena beat him at whatever.
But that's fine. It's like, whatever. The face goes
that's
over
what
at the
that
end
was
of the
supposed
feud.
to be. But then they brought Chris Jericho in, and Chris Jericho comes back to put guys over. And so he put over Bray Wyatt, and it's getting to the point where it's, why do you even bother hiring Chris Jericho back? Because it seems like you're just wasting your money. And we talked about this with Kyle the other day.
Yep.
Who was the last guy Chris Jericho put over? I'm not going to let Kyle guess because I told him the answer.
Already.
I'll let each of you take one guess.
Cena?
Nope.
Daniel Bryan?
Nope. Fandango.
Oh.
Yeah. Look where that went. And it's I would hate to see Bray Wyatt relegated to the same position of.
The thing
of,
is,
of
I feel
Fandango.
like Bray Wyatt, the way he does his character is just so strong. It's not going to go the Fandango route.
Fandango was super over for a while.
That was when they tried to make Fandangoing a thing,
and it kind of fell on its ass. And I agree, Bray Wyatt is a cut above, is 2 cuts above, but still, it concerns me.
It is because the problem is that they are very entertaining characters to watch, but the whole Wyatt shtick is becoming tired. If I hear that song played one more time,
is it possible Wyatt didn't go over enough, and now they're just trying to
backpedal?
It was something I talked about with Kyle the other week when we were going to Guardians. Is I feel sometimes that WWE has this mindset where the degree to which a character is over, their crowd energy is like a liquid that can be transferred effortlessly from cup to cup. We gave it to you. You are beaten by him. He now has all of it.
I think they had John Cena beat Bray Wyatt because they need to make Cena look strong again, just because of the ass pounding he.
Yeah, and you're right. It's just like, I have no issue with John Cena coming out and having a squash. But the thing is, and I read this online, and I completely agree, was just throw Kane out there and no one would bat an eye.
Yeah, exactly. Throw Kane.
But is that the problem? Would no one bat an eye? They're dealing with John Cena. He's one of the most polarizing superstars they have had as long as I can remember.
Thanks for saying the company line.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I actually mean it. Because there are 2 types of people. There are adults who hate Cena and kids who want to see Goku win. And what pisses me off is I know how the death of Superman ends. I'm not going to get to see this direction of Lesnar triumphs over Cena continue.
So we're all obviously a little ticked by this.
However, we did see a couple of the best things ever this past Raw. This last week's Raw was really pretty bad from start to finish. But
I was playing Dark Souls for most of it.
There were a couple highlights. One of them was Seth Rollins delivering the eulogy for Dean Ambrose.
That was awesome. Yep.
And, what was the other one? There was one other thing that we were getting hype about. And now, actually, I can't remember what it was.
I can't recall what it was. Yeah.
Oh, well.
It couldn't have been that important.
Now it'll just sort of fade into the ether.
So we'll
last week's Raw was a waste. It's not
really
worth talking about.
We will watch this Cena-Lesnar angle as it continues to develop. And not a whole lot more to say about that this week. But as we get closer to... Christ... Night of Champions. We'll have. My prediction is it's going to be an actual match this time, but Brock Lesnar will retain.
That's what I hope happens.
Yeah,
I don't believe it anymore.
But the thing is it's just like you just know in the back of your head. It's just like they could just do lol Cena wins.
All right, let's talk about comics.
Okay,
all right, fair enough.
We read some Hijinks Ensue this week.
Well, I've been reading Hijinks Ensue for years. But...
Ryan is the one who got me into Hijinks Ensue. Matt, you're familiar with the comic?
My experience with the comic, I was reading it fairly diligently maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I was reading it on and off for about a year and totally stopped listening. Stopped watching.
It was my phone that just went off.
Yeah, turn it, yeah.
So the point being, you kind of dropped out of Hijinks Ensue right before it made...
before he did the auto bio switch.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I rather than comment on that, I would be more interested on hearing what the changes are. Because I have not seen any of that content. I watched last, like, I keep saying watch, I read the last, like, 5 or 6 issues, and it seemed pretty par for the course from what I was familiar with.
Well, the thing...
Or at least, like, the humor setup, you know. Because, I mean, it always was fairly, or, like, at least somewhat autobiographical,
a slight bit,
wasn't it?
To an extent.
It is now 100% autobio, though. Like,
Okay.
you're not going to see a comic that doesn't have either Joel or the Joel life characters in it.
At some point in it. I mean,
Well, he's actually separated. He now has... He's got the autobio comics with Joel, and then there are other... When he wants to do geek gag strips, he puts in Fanurism, which is the comic that Comic Joel writes.
Right. And truth being told, he's not all that limited by the autobio construct. All it has to be is in the first panel, Joel is watching something, and panels 2 and 3 are the TV screen.
Well, what I want to bring up here is that I feel that Joel Watson is one of the most consistently funny, I don't even want to say consistently excellent, but he maintains a level of consistency that I feel is absent from 90% of webcomics out there. And I want to know to you guys, how important is that consistency? Because he does have some very funny comics here and there, but for the most part, he's not hitting the super high highs that some comics do, but he's also not falling to the super low lows. How important to you guys is consistency in your comics, or would you rather have it be 1 out of every 10 is just a super gem?
I find it unimportant. Or rather, it is only important to a certain extent.
Consistency, you mean?
Consistency.
Okay.
You know, I actually agree with you.
The thing is, these comics, whether we like it or not, I mean, we're all at least, you know, somewhat in, you know, one, you know, degree of separation or what have you, associated with doing webcomics. But whether we like it or not, these comics are a dime a dozen. And there are so many, there are so many comics worth reading that if a single comic falls short, there are 10 others to pick up its place. So I would rather you make a single good comic that lives on in my memory than hit the punchline 3 days a week.
The quality of comic that you're talking about is what is absolutely necessary for me to essentially break through the wall of my skepticism. I will not pick up and religiously go back to a website if it's, that was funny, I could wait a month. I'm just not going to remember. So if you show me a consistent quality, you'll get on my radar, you'll stay with me, but at the same time, I think it might be more advantageous to you to get that gem every dozen or so.
I think there's a level of consistency that I think is important for new artists, especially because, and this is something that Chips, that you and I have talked about before, and it was when I was first starting out, and you were telling me essentially it's not okay to have a bad comic on a certain level of super bad, because you know, I've obviously come a long way since those early days. But one of the things that Chips used to tell me all the time was that when people are not going to dredge your archives and wish the best for you, they're going to see one thing, and they're going to judge your entire body of work based on that one thing. So for new artists, it really is important to develop a certain level of consistency until you have some kind of following, because if you do only put out one good comic for every 10, the new readers that are following your ads and are coming to your site are going to read that one bad comic, and they're not going to bother following you anymore. And so there's a certain amount of tenacity, I suppose, that's involved with keeping going. But
it depends on the degree to which you're counting on readers coming to and staying at your site.
I think
there are
that,
more than enough link dumps now that one funny comic will get out there.
I guess what I'm saying is try every time. Trying to be an artist on the internet by punching the clock is not a thing that's going to happen.
The most important comic is the one that's on your page right now, though.
Yeah.
That is...
You're only as good as your last comic.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right, because when they come to the homepage, that's what's staring you in the face.
Exactly.
If I were to rank them, I would say number 1, comic that's on the page now. Number 2, hit previous once. Number 3, they hit first. What are they seeing?
Yep. So, Kyle, this was your first experience with Hijinks.
So Ryan sent me a batch of about 20 to read.
Mm-hmm. As I said I would. I'm a man of my word.
And
I'm going to drink this.
I did definitely enjoy it. I mean, I might throw it, I have a little bookmark folder just for webcomics. I might throw it in there.
Yeah. It's a good one to take on if you have a webcomic folder and it doesn't have Hijinks and Sue in it, you should add it because it really is. It's not a comic I think I would super recommend going back and reading the entire archive. Maybe if you have a little bit of time, hit the random button a few times.
I'd much rather have, have what Ryan did was just like, here, read these selections.
Yeah. But if you wanted to add it to your new rotation and keep reading it going forward, I
don't read webcomics all that much anymore, but I'll add it.
We're going to get you at some point. Just by being a part of this podcast, we're going to get you.
It's like, I'll check Womp a couple times a week. I'm reading Brood Hollow now, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like I check Penny Arcade every couple weeks. Like I skip many Penny Arcades. I'll just every once in a while I'll be like, oh, I haven't read that in a while. I'll catch the latest.
What's funny though is that Penny Arcade is the one comic where I might miss 3 weeks of reading Penny Arcade, but I will read I will go back to where I was and I will read every comic until.
I actually don't read Penny Arcade anymore.
Really?
And I don't want to spend
a topic for.
I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, but
they've become a trope.
Yeah. And I had a day where I just I was having a bad day and I flipped out on Penny Arcade and now I don't read it anymore. Yeah, I flipped out on Ryan. It's no longer on my daily reading list. It's the kind of thing that I will go back to and check and I'll read through it. I'll binge an archive at some point, but it's no longer on my day to day. Ryan, last word on Hijinks and Sue. What makes this comic work?
What makes it work?
What makes it work? As an autobio, as a gag strip. Because you have stated that you think that this comic works as a gag strip and then it made a great transition to autobio and now it works at that. What makes Hijinks and Sue work? What makes Joel Watson special?
I would say it's three things. It's the consistent quality that we've mentioned. It's the fact that he really is involved in pop culture and he does have... I hesitate to use the cliche, he's got his finger on the pulse, but he really is into the culture he represents, so his comics are usually very pertinent. And the other thing would honestly just be hard work. He supports a family on this comic, and that is a rarity, especially in terms of webcomics.
Oh, absolutely.
And it would not be possible without his tireless effort. Mm-hmm. He puts a lot of himself into his comics, and he really enjoys what he does. And on webcomics, that can't count for too much, but it counts where he's concerned.
Well, if you're good at it, it counts, you know?
Yeah, you really could take a couple of lessons, like all the lessons from Joel Watson.
There you go. Yeah, let's have that conversation.
Yeah, let's have it right now.
There are bugs crawling all over you.
Yeah, well, I'm Irish.
Either the LSD is kicking in or we carried a lot of bugs in with us from outside.
They love the Kool-Aid.
All right, so Chips, we've got you here.
Okay.
And we're happy to have you here, and we're going to put you in the hot seat for a few minutes right now.
Oh, no.
So...
when you hit that girl with the car and you kept driving, what was going through your head? No, of course.
I came here and I said there was only one question I wasn't going to answer.
No, I'm sorry.
And it wasn't that. Turns out she was a bitch. No,
that's fair. We actually really want to talk to you. I understand you've just been cast in the new Forrest Whitaker cancer drama. Here today, gone tomorrow. We're very excited. Can you tell us, you're the next door neighbor kid, right? You're kind of the emotional heart of Forrest Whitaker's
You can just
character.
ignore him.
Yeah,
really.
but I'm closest to the mic, man. What the fuck are you gonna do?
So we've talked about you on the podcast a couple of times before, and we've described you as a YouTube man. Obviously, you are one half of the YouTube channel. The Brain is Unconscious. Is that correct?
I would say that a half is an generous appraisal.
Okay, let's call it 60%.
I'm the sidekick. I'm basically
you're the Andy Richter.
Yeah, my good friend puts on a YouTube channel where he does Let's Plays.
And your friend's name is
Ryan Rosser, who lives in Edmonton, Canada,
the Canadian rapper.
And I'm basically like his sidekick. If he ever is doing a co-op game or something like that, I'll pop in.
So you guys do Let's Plays?
We generally do Let's Plays. We're working on our own podcast about Star Trek,
which is called
Don't Spoil the Sweater.
Excellent.
And we've done a pilot, we've done a pilot episode for that, and have not actually started the rest of it up. But do sometime this year.
What eras of Star Trek do you discuss?
We are currently the core concept is that it is Ryan, who is like a super Star Trek nerd. Myself, who I've seen
a super Star Trek nerd.
I would say I'm somewhere on the spectrum between a Star Trek nerd and an ultra Star Trek nerd.
You watched Voyager,
right? I watched Voyager
and Enterprise.
Exactly. I've seen every episode of every Star Trek. So it's us two doing commentary with our friend Zach, who has never seen an episode of Star Trek in his life. And what we do is we go through each episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, and we grill Zach on what he thought of Star Trek and try to convert him into the nerddom.
You hold him down like Alex the Large.
Excellent.
Very much.
Pry his eyes open with toothpicks.
So, the other thing, you're currently studying illustration at UMass Dartmouth, yes?
Yep, I'm entering my final year.
The two of us have worked on the comics together.
Yep.
We're currently working on a comic together.
We are.
Why don't you tell the people a little bit about that?
Well, I'm coloring Zach's...
That wasn't even the one I was thinking of.
Oh, well then the other one... Well, the other comic was...
Dogs in the fire.
Did we ever settle on a name for that?
Yep, we ended up calling it Brine.
Brine, yes.
So the concept was I had to do a degree project for my studies in which I had to do like 8 to 16 illustrations. And the agreement was that Brendan would write me a script and he would get a say in basically like what I did with it, but that I could basically take that script, illustrate it for you, and if my instructor told me that I had to deviate from that script, that would be the final word.
And let me tell you, that guy gave us some
shit. He gave us some serious shit. So the comic never exactly surfaced. We have like a lot of nice ideas and a lot of nice single pages.
It's something that
would
be really cool to pursue.
Work.
But it was something that would be not easy necessarily, but worth pursuing, I think, in the future. The other thing, obviously, is Snake Oil.
Yep.
Which the two of us are working on with Zach Szymanczyk, who is an artist living in Connecticut. I don't think we've mentioned him on the podcast before.
Yeah,
no,
he's actually...
I think maybe in passing. I think.
Yeah, and he's actually our third man in the podcast. So when that actually releases, you can catch him there.
Hear that. So Zach is a very talented artist. He's doing the pencils and the inks. I'm writing the script for that, and Chips is doing the colors. And that's we're calling it a Lovecraftian Western is the theme of that comic. So Snake Oil is the name of that comic, and it's gonna happen someday.
I am really excited.
I'm waiting on Zach right now.
It's going very slowly. It is
but it's gonna be good.
To be decided when it releases, but I really hope and do think that we will get that one out. And the few pages that we have managed to complete,
they look AAA.
I think that they look better than anything that the three of us have done on our own.
Oh, absolutely!
So I'm very excited.
It's coming together fantastically, and like you said, it's going very slowly, but I think it's going to be worth the wait. So exciting stuff happening there. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I want to keep this brief, but I've spoken about this with a few of my artist and musician friends, and I'm kind of trying to develop a consensus, essentially. So I want to ask you a little bit about exposure as an artist. And the things I want to ask you about it are, how do you gain exposure? What do you think is the best way to gain exposure? How do you take advantage of that exposure once you've gained it? And do you think it's ever acceptable to accept exposure, quote unquote, as payment for work?
First off, how do you get exposed? The answer, like, if you can come up with that, if you knew that answer, I would love to hear it, because I'm looking too. I mean, there are a lot of different ways that you can go. I mean, you are, working on your webcomics and kind of trying to develop your artistic abilities independently.
I'm kind of trying to... I would describe my efforts as bludgeoning a brick wall with a sledgehammer, and hopefully I'll get through at some point.
And I have been focusing more on crafting my ability and, going the academic path and trying to do that. I'm entering my senior year. I'm starting to look at, internships.
Where can our listeners check out your illustration work? I know you've got it posted somewhere.
I have a Tumblr, unfortunately. I hate Tumblr, but...
we all do, but it's necessary.
It's an easy venue to dump crap.
What's the Tumblr?
So
What's your Tumblr URL?
You can find that at Terrorblot.
Terrorblot.
Blot.
The word Terrorblot, no space.
.tumblr.com.
You do a lot of really good work, and a lot of it's on your Tumblr, and I would encourage listeners to check that out. I guess the real question that I would like to ask you is if you were offered a position working on a comic or an illustration piece, and you were told, I can't pay you, but I'm going to post this on my website of some repute, and it'll be good exposure for you, would you take that job?
The biggest thing is, are they getting paid? Okay?
Okay.
If it's, goodwill from everybody involved and everybody is, doing it out of their own money or like not for profit,
Like snake
then
oil.
the answer is absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Exposure is super important, and ultimately that's the only thing that's going to get you work. Because
But if they're
there's
getting
no
paid,
piece of, there's
you.
but there's no piece of paper,
Basically.
I'm working towards a bachelor's in illustration. That piece of paper is going to get me absolutely nothing. There's nothing you can put on your wall that says I am an artist. Buy my
Hey,
shit.
Well, like recently, our new super hype theme song for the Hell to Breakfast podcast. The Hell to Breakfast show, which is the official name of the show. Doesn't matter, whatever.
Okay.
M. Roosevelt did that for us, and I'm working. I've got my Patreon going now, and I make back my operating capital with that right now, and we paid him for his work. And we didn't pay him much, but we paid him, and we've had Mike and I have had this discussion a few times that really, in a lot of cases, being offered exposure as payment for your work is pretty insulting. When somebody else is making money, and this is a case where I am making some money off of the Hell to Breakfast website, and I paid him in kind essentially, and so it comes down to it's not much, but it's something.
You can reduce it. You can take all of the bells and whistles off of it and reduce it to this. When someone is making money off of work you're getting and the only thing you're getting is exposure, they are saying to you, I believe that your work is worth money and I'm not giving any of it to you.
Mm.
Yeah. Well,
you hear about this all the time. Like, you just hear horror stories from people doing, like, freelancing where companies just won't fucking pay them.
yeah, well, people don't think that art has a hard value, but
And it's just like it's man hours.
Yeah, it is man hours, and it is a skill that person has that you don't, and you got to sometimes grab them by the balls and make them pay. They teach us. They're very serious about it. Like when you go to school for illustration, there is a blue book that tells you what the approximate value of a piece of work is.
I would like to take a look at that at some
teachers,
point.
yeah, and the teachers tell you, maybe bargain down to a lower number, but that is even as an emerging artist coming straight out of school with no experience, that is the number that you give them. Because if you don't hold up to that,
If you don't,
they're not going to make the money
If
either.
you don't assign value to your work, why should they?
The community, the
also
community
the
as a
closed
whole,
ranks.
the young community working in art and in music, it's almost we got to get to a point where we can't have scabs.
No, close ranks. That's exactly what I just said to Kyle.
You got to take money for your work where you can get it. And you've got to stand up for yourself, because if you don't, you're going to still get these people that are going to take advantage of your inexperience and of just your desire to have your work seen over anything else.
But it's important to note that there is nothing wrong with doing something for free. It's just don't get taken advantage of.
Right.
I mean,
like if you're working with some friends on something y'all want to do, and
Like
it's
snake
just,
oil.
like the thing you guys are doing, like that's fine.
Understand when you are in a professional sphere and a personal sphere.
Yeah.
And when you're in the professional sphere, you have to act as a professional.
Well, that's why it's funny working with Mike Rassus, because we really do both. We have things that we work. Well, at least I feel we do both, and he might send me an email soon saying you're totally fucking wrong. Give me so much money, but we have things that we're working on in a personal capacity. We have things we're working on in a professional capacity, and I feel like we do a pretty good job of drawing the line. And I think it is important. You've got to draw the line. You've got to say at some point, I'm willing to do this for you, and I'm willing to work a little bit. But if you want, because I had a guy that I worked for, Gary Bloom.
You posted some of
the
his
author
stuff on
of
the
the
page.
author of the Olympus Union series. He writes ebooks online as a very prolific sci-fi author, and I did the fighting style story for him. And we kicked around the idea of a few things of like a board game or of a graphic novel, and essentially I told him as I would love to do some short stories for you, some short pieces, and I'd be willing to do those for free as long as I can post them on my website. But if we want to do like a graphic novel board game or something, there's going to be a pretty hefty commission involved, and I can't. I would love to work on something like that, but I can't do it for free.
time.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes money, and that's what it comes down to. So Gentlemen.
Actually, before we continue, did you ever, this is just only half related. Did you ever hear about this guy, like, he was doing freelance artwork, and web design, and it's, like, the way he would deal with people, like, always... You know what, when you do freelance web design or anything of that, like, ilk, you always come across, like, the person you're working for or, like, some manager that wants to pretend like he's being helpful by finding anything to change in what you've done.
Yep.
Like, and so what this guy would do is on every single, like, job he would do, he would just put a big picture of a duck on it, and they would be like, get rid of that duck and we'll be fine. And it's just like, and so you just remove the duck and give him the final copy. It's like, yeah, it looks great. So just like that, there you go. That's a pro tip right there.
Right.
That's how I felt. That's how I felt when I was designing.
Like give them something to correct.
That's how I felt when I was designing the webpage for Ryan's father.
Oh, let's not talk about dad blog right now. I can't deal with dad. We don't have the time, the energy, or the sexual magnetism to talk about dad blog right now.
I have 2 out of the 3, but yes, let's move on.
So the story of the double episode next week, we are going to be recording a double episode next week, and it'll be released over the course of 2 weeks. We'll have a part 1 and a part 2.
Part 1, I'll be alive. Part 2,
I'm going to a wedding on the week of September 14th. That weekend, I'm going to be going to a wedding down in Waterford, Connecticut, which is a hell of a drive from Orlando, Florida.
Yes, it's down in Waterford.
Yeah, shut the fuck
Orlando.
up. And
Waterford, Cuba.
I've mentioned this a few times. I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire. That's where
liquor is tax free.
That's where liquor is tax free, and that's why I have to go there. But I will be driving down from New Hampshire on Friday night, and I will be driving down to Waterford on Sunday, and then I will be driving back to New Hampshire from Waterford, and it's about 4 hours. I'll probably be getting into New Hampshire around 2 a.m. on Sunday night, and then I'll be staying in New Hampshire for the week. So our podcast recording days, we either do Sunday or Monday. I know what you're saying, listeners. Why the fuck can't Kyle and Ryan just record it without you? And
we could do it.
Well, you could, except that I have all the recording equipment, and I also do all the production, and I'm just
I can make shit happen. I edited our albums in high school.
You did do that. You do have audacity, but no. I'm gonna be that much of a control freak.
So you know what? Fuck. We're gonna make a bootleg podcast.
So
here's to Borkfist.
Yeah,
here's to Borkfist. So next week we will have moving Brooklyn bassist John Cavanaugh will be with us in the studio, and we're gonna record a double episode with him.
Are you bringing more strangers?
I am bringing more strangers into your life. Yes,
I'm gonna have to bring so much liquor.
You are.
Oh wait, double episode, right?
I'm still stunned about how much that looks like blood. By the way,
we've got 2 hours.
I'm surprised how much it hurts my blood.
We're gonna have 2 hours to drink John under the table, so that's what we're gonna do. So gentlemen, we before dinner, we played, and we will continue playing after the podcast tonight, a rousing session of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Chips, you just got the book.
I did.
Yeah, and we made characters tonight. Ryan, you made yours ahead of time, but Kyle and I made our characters tonight, and we were enjoying the hell out of ourselves. And actually, we have. I feel like I have nothing but good things to say.
We've taken to it.
Yeah. For reference, we are all very experienced pen and paper RPG players.
To an extent. Let's be clear.
I don't know if I'm very experienced, but
you've been playing for several years.
I know a way my way around the dice.
I was brought up on it. My dad played 2nd edition.
There will always be someone that is more in the know than us, but
absolutely.
we are. I would say that we've
been around the block a few times.
We roll
We've
some
been
dice
playing for years.
The point I wanted to make is specifically we're experienced with various editions of Dungeons and Dragons. We've never played GURPS. We've never played any of the more.
Well, I've played.
We did play Feng Shui that one.
We played Feng Shui.
Deadlands.
We've played Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds is a lot of fun.
I have had a couple of.
You're talking about your secret?
I've had a couple of interesting experiences with White Wolf. I played a little bit of Vampire the Masquerade. I won't lie about that.
Those were your secret vampire games.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And Mike really wanted you to come to those, actually.
Yeah, but I didn't like anyone in it.
No, I know.
Not even you.
No, I know.
Not when you put the fangs on.
No, I didn't put the fangs in.
We
didn't dress up. It wasn't that kind of group.
Wasn't it?
It wasn't.
Mr. White Winter Count?
We played around the table. That was it. What, you're making shit up.
Yeah, okay. Why do my lies sound so convincing?
Probably because it doesn't matter. Anyways, D&D is the thing on the table here. So the first,
Literally.
not counting this 5th edition that we just played, if we went quickly around the table, what would you say your favorite edition of Dungeons & Dragons is? And yes, Pathfinder does count. Ryan.
At this point, I would have to say I'm liking what I'm seeing from next. D&D 5th edition.
Just said not counting 5th edition.
Yeah, but I've been drinking this.
Okay, yeah, we know you've been drinking
That's
the blood,
actually
Mr. White.
That's a fair excuse.
We know you've been drinking the blood, Mr. White Winter Count, but...
Alright, in that case, I'm going to have to say Vanilla Pathfinder.
Vanilla Pathfinder.
Because
okay. So minus the third-party SRD bullshit.
Minus all of it.
The core book.
Exactly.
That's a good book, too.
I'd probably follow exactly the same as you.
Okay.
I mean, that might be a result of that's what we've played the most.
Yeah, probably. I would have to say, Pathfinder plus maybe the Advanced Player's Guide. No third party.
I gotta.
Just the Paizo stuff.
I gotta hold hard and fast to my Dungeons and Dad's upbringing.
You're a second edition guy?
I'm an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition guy. And I'm actually going to be playing some Dungeons and Dads this Friday.
Are you?
Yeah.
So they'll be adopting
for our listeners that they will not. For my listeners that don't know, my father is going to be 60 next year. He used to play Dungeons and Dragons with his friends in college back in the 70s.
Back when it was still a Satanist ritual.
They still play. So I'm in the group now. I play. I'm not the youngest in the group anymore. There's another guy who's got a 16-year-old kid who plays with us now. But yeah, I play D&D with a bunch of 60-year-old men. And we have a blast.
And there's not a damn thing weird about that, no matter what the law says.
It's true. So, we've been playing the 5th edition, though, and I gotta say, I really like it. I really, really like it. I like it more... And Pathfinder would be my second choice for playing the D&D. But I think I like this better.
The jury is still out. I mean,
that's the thing. We've only played a few hours, so we'll see.
And
we will keep playing it.
Well, Chips, you've got probably the most experience out of any of us with this. You're the one who bought the book. You've done the research. You've read the dungeon. Tell us what you think.
I've done the research. As far as at the table, all I have really experienced is playing with you guys as the dungeon master.
Right.
But
and we're good. Without tooting our own horn too much, we're good players. We don't fuck up the rotation too much. We don't, but we don't fuck up the rotation, and we don't have a trouble adapting to the rules.
Right.
True.
I think that I really am excited about 5th edition. It really feels like they took what they wanted to do with 4th edition and failed with horribly, and found an actual way to do that while still making it feel like 3rd edition, which is
I think I played one game of 4th edition, and you ran it as the dungeon master.
Was that the one years ago in high school?
Yep.
Like, oh wow.
And I hated it. I only played the one game. I did not like it.
I would say comparing 4th to 5th and comparing both in turn to 3rd edition, which is what they've come after, I would say that 4th edition was Wizards' attempt to revolutionize the formula, whereas 5th has been their attempt to revise the
Let's
formula.
not even talk about Essentials.
I don't know anything about it.
I
so
don't
I
because I
can't.
completely ignored it.
Well, I believe Essentials was just modified 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe
It was
that
4.5 as far as I'm aware.
But
we played
3.5.
3.5.
5th is... Well, the thing I like about 5th the most is they are bringing RP back hard.
Yeah,
and there are hardline rules now that you need to give your character certain backgrounds, and it seems a little restrictive for experienced players like us that are used to developing our characters. But I think for introducing new people into the game structure, this is a really good entry point.
I don't even agree with you. I don't think it's restrictive. It's restrictive only if you're saying, here's the 4 categories. If I can recall them off the top of my head, is a bond, an ideal, a flaw, and a personality trait.
Yes.
Right. And you can roll a dice to determine what you have. Yeah, that's
if you want to go full random,
that's restrictive. But you can make up anything you want so long as it slots into one of those 4 categories.
It is funny. The character that I designed I designed this character last night during the brief blackout we had at Kyle's.
Largely sight unseen. In terms
Yeah,
of
no, I had never looked into the rulebook before, and I designed this character that I was going to play was a half-orc cleric, who's Luther Blood Drinker is my half-orc cleric.
And I gotta say, I liked the original name.
Jedediah Jawbreaker was the joke name, and I will not go back. But I designed this character of he's supposed to be a half orc who was raised among the orcs, and then the priests of this religion came through and they wiped out the tribe. But there was one priest that decided to spare the child, and so then he was raised in the church, and he became a cleric of the church, and he's a war priest. And I came up with that. That's the backstory that I came up with. I was going through the rule book today, making my character, and all of those background options were readily available to me. Not in the specifics. But there was, like, for one example, one of my background options was I was able to pick I owe my life to the priest that spared me or something.
And you had literally written that yourself.
Exactly, yeah. And
the
so
night before.
it's a very intuitive player's handbook, and they really cover the basics very well. And you can come up with your own character, and then you can go in and you can find the rules and say, oh wow, this fits exactly what I want to do.
Right. And I think that it's also worth noting that this is Wizards of the Coast we're talking about, and there will be additional books, and that material will eventually make its way to the internet. From
what I've seen, I'm buying. Yeah. I'm going to buy the player's handbook. It's only $30.
Yeah,
I'm going to buy it.
I'll pick it up.
I think we're going to play 5th edition. Like I
think 5th edition
honestly,
is going to be the mainstay.
The campaign I started, like if we convert our characters over, we can keep going my campaign.
I would totally do that. My game too, the Viking game. I would.
Which
totally
I do want to continue that one too. That was fun. The first session.
I'm playing a half orc cleric. Ryan, you're a human warlock,
which is a brand new class to this this generation, or this edition rather, of the game.
And so you're our mystical character, and Kyle, you are a halfling rogue. Yes?
Hell yeah!
Let's talk about how interesting like the halfling changes were, because that was like so much more.
Halflings are cool now.
Yeah. It was like so many things that were interesting ideas in the 3rd edition of the game now have a gameplay mechanic to them that makes them a powerful character.
And I think that's a good example of what I think is the strongest part of the carryover but essentially the strongest part of what has been carried over from 4th edition in spirit. Mm-hmm. This may sound like a weird point to you guys. I'd be curious to hear your input. 5th edition feels a lot like Diablo 3 to me, wherein the overall philosophy is every level you should get something cool. And it can't just be you get a bonus to a number. It can't just be you get a bonus to skills, which is bonuses to a number. You gain new
give me something that changes the way.
Well, this is really cool.
Increase my tool set,
because we played like the first half of the starter game just before dinner, and we started at level 1, and then at the end of this portion we leveled up to level 2, and all 3 of us gained cool new abilities. Yeah.
Now, part of that is our players are going to hit level 2 before the end of the starter dungeon. Let's really hook them. But I've looked at the rest of the level changes.
It's not super weirdo. Everyone's a wizard OP. Like
exactly, and I think that it's really important to differentiate that, because what happened in 4th edition was every character played like a wizard. Every character
of some
had
description.
Yeah,
Tide of Steel.
Yeah, it was like the paladin had a move. The paladin had some aura move where he would do 3 to 6 damage to like cone damage or something like that. And 5th edition is really doing away with those powers that hyper encourage the players to tap an ability and more so describe what they're doing and find an interesting result in doing it.
Well, like 2nd level, I'm the cleric. I can turn undead now. 2nd level, Kyle's the rogue. He can do stealth stuff in combat now. 2nd level, you're the warlock. I forget what your ability was.
I gain new ways of altering my spells for better effects.
Yeah. So it was very, very pointed and unique, and you still feel like you're playing the proper class.
You know what this is making me think of? Is it's just like, think about it like this. It's like D&D 4th edition. They tried to streamline everything, right?
So that every player
and it's just
could
like,
do the
so
same
basically...
things.
4th edition ends up being Final Fantasy 13. And then it's just like, but then afterward, it's just like, oh, they released Bravely Default. You streamlined things. And it's awesome.
There you go.
It's streamlining not everyone is a wizard, but everyone has a degree of wizard-neato things they can do. It's not just, I hit with my sword much better than you hit with your dagger. But you're the cleric. You can heal people. Wasn't around in 4th edition. Not really.
Healing Surges was the name of the game.
Classes have regained their identity.
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest
important.
reason why Next is attractive.
So, last word.
Is that what they're actually calling it? Next?
No. It's,
No,
that was
the
beta
official
name.
name is
Oh,
Dungeons
okay.
and Dragons.
5th edition.
No,
No,
just
Dungeons and Dragons.
Which they tried to do with 3rd edition, and it eventually became Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition when they
Then
did 3.5.
3.5.
But so I kind of hope I kind of hope it holds, because I feel like this could be the new identity for Dungeons and Dragons. And that being said, I know you had asked me, is this something that you had said does it have staying power as a genre? Do you think Dungeons and Dads would ever switch over to this? No, they will never. They are tired old men, and they will keep playing 2nd edition.
So this has
and I have no problem with that. And 2nd edition, there's some aspects of 2nd edition that are in 5th edition that I really like, but they're still different games. And I'm happy to play 5th edition with everybody else, but I'm also happy to keep playing 2nd edition.
But you wouldn't say it has much pull with the old guard.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. In that case...
The super old guard, first of all, we're
Yeah.
talking about.
In which case, we also have to keep an eye on it as something where it's trying to introduce itself to new players or players who aren't particularly connected to the game system.
Right.
And I think it does a fantastic job giving them stuff out of the gate, retaining class identity, and giving them interesting things to do, making them feel like they're characters again.
So, Chips, last word. You're running this game. You're the dungeon master for our game right now. How do you think it's going?
I'm having a lot of fun playing this campaign. I like the starter set. That's not the most interesting thing to talk about, but the actual box that they provide players that have never played before is actually a hell of a lot of interesting content, which the other editions did a very poor
Remember
job
when
of
we
doing.
both bought that? Was it 3.0 or 3.5?
It was 3. Yeah, we had the
that little
3.5.
box set.
Yep, we had the 3.5 starter set, and it was basically a dungeon with a unicorn.
Yep.
And that was it.
So-
And the new box
And we
is
had
levels 1 to
Tortoise,
5.
though.
So the impression is good, though, and it's something we're excited to keep working with. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
We all went to see it this week.
Yes, we did.
Ryan
We'll
didn't-
next week.
Ryan's going
didn't
to talk
like
about
it.
how he doesn't like it.
Ryan didn't like it.
Did not care for it. Which
The rest of us liked it.
Yeah, I loved it.
I just don't.
I thought it was better than Avengers.
Me too.
Chip said the same thing. I cannot understand that. Not
Do you think it was better than Avengers?
No, not even a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
I think it was considerably worse than Avengers.
Why didn't you like it?
I think one of the ways I can encapsulate that is, what was one of the questions I asked you when the movie finished? It was,
cannot recall, I'm sorry.
it was, I will give a shiny silver sixpence to anyone. In
Oh
our
yeah,
group.
you didn't know who Gamora was.
I could not remember Gamora. I thought her character was boring. I thought
to counterpoint that,
okay,
everyone who you were with knew the character's name.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just in furtherance of my point. The things I find important in a movie were the biggest faults of this movie. The dialogue was atrocious.
Oh yeah, it was.
The characters were flat, uninteresting, unbelievable. Every big character moment, every moment where they were supposed to make a great stride, fell so flat and unbelievable. I never once believed that Drax was going to be part of the gang because he seems to be functionally brain dead.
So here's a question. Are we attaching ourselves to the actual Marvel characters coming out of these movies, or are we attaching ourselves to the actors who are portraying them? Example being Star-Lord and Chris Pratt, Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr., etc., etc. What do you guys think? And I'll start with anyone but Robert.
'Cause I don't know Chris
I know
Pratt.
me personally. It's just like I thought Robert Downey Jr. as a cast for Tony Stark was a great casting choice.
Let's focus a little more on Guardians of the Galaxy because this is what we just
Okay,
saw.
well the thing is, I wasn't that familiar. Other than Batista being Drax the Destroyer and Vin Diesel voicing Groot, I never watched Parks and Rec, so I didn't really know who
So
Chris
did
Pratt
you
was.
like Star-Lord? Did you relate to Star-Lord?
I don't know if I related to it. I thought Star-Lord was fine. Here's the thing that I will agree with you on, Ryan, is that when they were not having, banter with each other, when they were actually having dialogue, it was the worst.
Yeah,
but when they were
what?
but when they were
That's
bantering
not a fault of the movie.
when they were bantering with each other, I thought it was great.
Chips, who did you like and why? Who didn't you like and why?
I absolutely adored Chris Pratt in that movie.
Yeah, I like
thought it
Chris
was
Pratt
great.
in that movie.
I did think it was great. I agree with you, but Ryan, having brought this up to me, I am having just the slightest bit of trouble making the distinction between did I like Star-Lord or do I just like Chris Pratt?
That conversation is irrelevant, though, because nobody cares about those characters. Guardians of the Galaxy...
That's not something you can just forgive. If the characters are garbage, which they were for the most part,
The characters aren't garbage. The characters are
They're unknowns, yeah.
then they should have done a better job fixing that. And I appreciate the difficulty the movie makers must have had, because they were told to make Avengers, but also make 5 origin movies.
Well, I think I Rocket Raccoon.
And
is my
I
favorite
appreciate
character.
the fact that they didn't go that route.
Rocket Raccoon is now my favorite character in the Marvel universe.
He was the best part of the movie. I'll give you that.
He is. I don't have the. Unfortunately, we're winding down on time here. I don't have the time to talk about all the reasons that I love Rocket Raccoon, but I just feel that on both a narrative level and a meta level, Rocket Raccoon is currently the best character in the Marvel universe. But one issue that you brought up to me, Ryan, that I think is worth talking about. Are these movies becoming too formulaic?
Yes.
The origin story, the formula of the origin story is clearly present here. So I guess the real question is, how put off are you by that?
Not, because it's comic books.
It's
Comic books always start with an origin story, and it's like I really don't mind them telling that in the form of a movie, especially if with these Marvel movies, when they start out with a new one, if it's a success, you're gonna have a sequel.
We could have
And
had
it's just like I don't mind them telling the origin story.
Neither do I, but they didn't tell it.
It wasn't an origin story.
Here's what I'll say, and maybe this is going to sound too...
Yeah, it really wasn't an origin
No,
story. It was
it
basically
wasn't.
just like, here's how these 4 jerks in space got together.
Yeah, it
Or
was
these
just,
5
it was
jerks
just
in
Star
space.
Lord. Everybody else.
So that's
was
very
summed up
much
in
breaking the formula.
Yeah, the only origin story they gave was for Star-Lord. You're right.
Everyone else was.
Everyone else was just someone they came across.
So here's my question. Why do you care about any of the characters in this film?
It's a comedy. It's not. I mean, I
Okay,
don't
then-
need to weep for the characters.
I think that you are trying to impose some serious dramatic tones on what really is a comedy.
I disagree. I think I'm trying to impose storytelling tones. They break too many rules of storytelling. in
What are
this.
the rules that they break specifically?
Specifically, you know how Chris Pratt, because I refuse to call him Star-Lord because he's Chris Pratt, you know how he has a tape player?
Yeah.
On his waist? I think that's a very good image for the film.
Okay.
Because everyone seems to have their tragic past in a tape recorder on their waist.
Okay.
And at some point in the film, they are told by the director to hit play. Rocket Raccoon gets drunk, here's my sad past.
How is that a break of storytelling conventions?
Because it's not weaved... Oh, excuse me, weaved. It's not woven into the story. Why do
See,
I care about...
It sounds to me like it's exactly woven into the story because it is. They have that one thing that they can tie their character to, like the tape player that is at least somewhat organic to the plot.
Because Raccoon would go to a bar and get drunk.
Besides easily identifying it as a narrative device, what for that takes you out of the narrative and you say to you that is breaking the rules.
I guess it's hard to describe if it didn't come across that way to you guys. For me, every time somebody hit play on their personal tape recorder, it felt like the narrative took a full stop. Suddenly, Gamora and Star-Lord are on a balcony, and
That was a little weird.
That was dumb.
And Gamora's delivering some tortured line about penile sorcery. Or pelvic sorcery, whatever. She didn't want to fuck Star-Lord, but she totally wanted to fuck Star-Lord. Thank you for wasting 2 minutes of my life. Drax... I don't even actually remember when Drax hit play. Was it after he got pulled out of the goop?
Yeah,
there was
pretty
one
much.
awesome line, and it was from Rocket Raccoon, and I
Yeah.
wish it had been the only line on the subject, which is, we've all got dead people. That's no excuse for making everyone else dead along the way. That was good. I just wish Rocket Raccoon hadn't had his minute and a half in the sun where he talked about how he was a monster.
Well,
It fell flat. I didn't care about them. I didn't find them funny. I found them cringeworthy.
it's an interesting take because this is another example of Ryan kind of makes us take a step back from things that everyone universally says.
Guardians
are
of the
great.
Galaxy has received a 92% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes and has made a
I
boatload of money.
really enjoyed it. We all really enjoyed it, with the exception of Ryan, I think.
My reaction at the end of the film was, I'm not sure if I liked that or not.
Here's my question.
I know.
One thing I will say is it got you talking.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I talk.
Here's my final point question on this. yes or no, around the circle, would you watch it again? Ryan.
No.
Kyle.
Maybe in a while. I don't know if I really need to watch it again.
Matt.
Not right now.
Okay, well, not even. Okay, let's try this again. I'm not talking right now. I'm just saying, would you give it a second watch?
Yes.
Ryan. Still no. Kyle.
I mean, probably eventually.
Matt.
Yes.
I would also say yes. Here's the real question: would you purchase it? Ryan.
Yes.
Kyle.
Just to break it in half.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd buy it.
Matt.
I don't buy DVDs.
I'm in the same camp.
Thing is,
But
I buy Blu-rays.
I don't buy media. But I was very happy with my ticket purchase.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I wasted my money at all.
We went on $5 Tuesday.
I was
great.
glad we went on half price day.
So wrapping up. Kyle's still not playing Dark Souls, and we just
Nope.
can't seem to browbeat him into it.
Fuck off.
Chips, you like Dark Souls, don't you?
I love Dark
We all
You
love Dark
fuckers
Souls.
can all talk about Dark Souls.
No, that's not the segment. The
Ryan
segment
is,
why are you not playing it?
Ryan, you finished Salem's Lot,
Oh, yeah, yes.
and
I
now
did.
you're moving on to Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, I'm about 25% of the way through, maybe 30.
And you have stated to me that Pet Cemetery is the scariest book you've read so far. Is that correct?
From page 1 onwards. Or maybe like page 3 onwards, but you get the point.
Mr. Chip.
Which is funny, because I mentioned when I started that I wanted to see if King can scare me.
Well, and
Yes.
there you go.
He stopped giving a fuck.
That
scared me.
Mr. Chips,
That's me.
we want to thank you for joining us this week. Do you have any last words that you would care to say before you go? What do you want to plug on our show?
Oh my god. You can follow me on Twitter at mbchips, I believe.
Yeah.
At Twitter.
Other than that, that's basically the best way to find out what I'm doing.
And so obviously on your Twitter, and if you're into the YouTube scene, the Brain is Unconscious YouTube channel.
That's us.
Chips could frequently show up on that.
We'll be leaving links to all of this stuff in the episode description. You can just
I gotta remember to actually do that this week, but I will be doing a link dump in the description.
Them.
Yeah, do that. Next week we're gonna be recording our double episode. We're gonna be with moving Brooklyn bassist John Kavanaugh's gonna be with us next week. We're gonna be talking more about horror novels for sure. And Dark Souls. So for Health Breakfast Show, I want to thank everybody for listening. We thank all of my Patreon patrons. Keep Patreoning me on the Patreon.
I gave you
Patrons
$1
and give me dollars that I can keep dollaring the dollars Patreon. For the Health Breakfast Show, I'm Brendan.
I'm Ryan.
And Kyle.
And I am Chips.
We will see you next week.
Finished the drink.
And I was just why.
Yeah.